Your road trip depends on invisible gatekeepers, the companies that own chargers, set prices, and decide who plugs in. Want to know who actually is in charge? We are pulling back the curtain on the EV charging map. Who owns the station, who controls access, who sets the prices, and how that control shapes whether your cross-country drive is smooth or a slog. I'll show the major players, the alliances that are reshaping access, and the single practical rule you can use when planning a long trip, so you don't get stranded by hidden fees or locked networks. Hello, I'm Shayan, an engineer specialized in electric vehicle development. Charging networks are not all created equal. Some build and operate stations, some own hardware on retail property, and others run the software that authorizes and bills you. The big names you'll see on road trips include Tesla, Electrify America, ChargePoint, EVgo, and Europe's high-power network IONITY. Each plays a different role. Tesla built an integrated high-converged supercharger grid. Electrify America and EVgo focuses on public fast charging. ChargePoint dominates level 2 destination and workplace charging. And IONITY concentrates on ultra-fast corridors across Europe. But ownership is only part of the puzzle. Control comes from three levers: physical access, who can plug in, pricing, who sets kilowatt-hour per minute rates, and software authorization, apps, RFID, and now plug-and charge standards. Some networks are open to all EVs by design. Others started closed to a brand but are opening up under pressure or agreements. For example, Tesla built the supercharger network for its cars, and it has long controlled access and payment rules. But it's been opening more superchargers to other brands via the NACS connector and roaming agreements, a move that changes who controls access at those sites. Here's the kicker: capacity and uptime matter as much as location. Networks are racing to add stalls, but demand is growing faster. ChargePoint reported large increases in session volume even while adding ports, meaning utilization is rising and busy stations stay busy. That squeezes road trip flexibility because a station being there doesn't guarantee a stall when you need it. But the plot thickens with alliances and interoperability. In Europe, big operators partnered to form a new unified network to share access and payment across operators, aiming to bring 11,000 charging points under a single umbrella and a simplified payment across borders. That kind of cooperation shifts control away from isolated operators toward a more open roaming model, which is good for drivers, but it also centralizes who controls pricing policies and data sharing across a bigger footprint. The problem is simple: network fragmentation plus rising utilization equals unpredictability. You can plan a route that hits fast chargers, but you can't control whether those chargers will work, be free, or charge you a premium for convenience. Electrify America, for example, has expanded rapidly with thousands of fast chargers. But high utilization and station availability still create choke points on busy routes. That means the network owner's decisions on where to place chargers, what to charge, and whether to require an app or a membership directly influence whether your trip is painful or painless. But policy and business moves also reshape control. Automaker-operator partnerships like the GM EVgo collaboration put OEMs into the infrastructure game, not just the cars. When the manufacturers invest in or commission charging networks, they gain influence over location strategy, user experience, and pricing models, effectively creating a partial vertical integration similar to how Tesla built its supercharger advantage. Those partnerships change who decides the rule of the road. Let's break the problem into three travel-critical realities you can't ignore. First, access rules, open versus closed networks. Some stations are open to any EVs with the right connector, while others require network accounts, specific adapters, or even brand permission. Tesla historically controlled access tightly, but it's now opening superchargers to non-Teslas, which shifts control and reduces gatekeeping. Meanwhile, operators like Electrify America and EVgo are broadly open but still rely on apps, RFID, or payment systems that can lock out drivers who don't plan ahead. The bottom line: access rules are set by the network owners, and they govern whether you can simply stop and charge. Second, pricing and dynamic fees. Charging prices vary wildly. Some networks bill by kilowatt hour, where legal. some by time, and others add session or idle fees that ramp up penalties if you stay plugged in after charging completes. Operators set these fees and can change them, often with little notice. That's control over your wallet on the road. For example, ChargePoint's recent data shows session growth outpacing new ports, which can lead operators to adjust pricing to manage congestion or recoup costs. You pay the price of their choice. Third, reliability and uptime. Almost as important as whether the station exists is whether it works. Networks with higher uptime and larger footprints give you more predictable trips. Tesla's supercharger network reports high uptime and tens of thousands of connectors, which is why many long-distance EV owners prefer Tesla or route with solid network redundancy. But non-Tesla networks are expanding fast, and alliances like Europe's Spark aim to level the playing field by making more chargers reachable under common payment and access rules. But none of these factors exist in a vacuum. Policy shifts, investment flows, and even political decisions about infrastructure funding can slow or accelerate network growth. Recent policy changes in some regions have impacted federal support programs, which in turn affect deployment speed and who ends up building the network. That macro level can empower private operators to set the rules by default, unless regulators step in. Here's the key truth you need for every road trip. Networks and automakers both claim to expand freedom, but real freedom comes from redundancy and planning. If one company controls the high power corridor in a region, they control your options, pricing, uptime, and access protocols. But if multiple networks and alliances incorporate and offer choices, control diffuses and drivers benefit. A practical example: on a busy interstate, a route with only a single operator's fast chargers become a vendor lock for travelers. A route with multiple networks, OEM partnerships, and roaming agreements gives drivers choices and bargaining power. Data shows networks are growing, but sessions are growing faster than ports, meaning you can't rely on simple coverage maps alone. You must plan for utilization and fallback options. So who really controls your road trip freedom? The short answer: the network owners and the rules they set. But the longer, practical answer is that control is shared between operators, automakers, and regulators. Operators decide who plugs in and how much you pay. Automakers influence access by partnering or opening proprietary networks, and regulators can force openness or standardizations. The good news is that alliances and roaming deals are trending toward more driver choice, and automaker investment are bringing more chargers online. The bad news is demand is growing even faster than chargers. So the network's operational decisions, where to add capacity, how to price, and how to prioritize uptime, will keep shaping your trips for the next few decades. If you want to learn more about the battery management system, how the battery management system inside the electric vehicles calculates state of charge, state of health, and other characteristics, you can click on the link in the description to learn more. Thank you.